Hey, Ann, good to see you again.
Hi, Andrew. How are you?
Doing great. How's your day going so far?
I just walked the dog before the session, so she wasn't bothering me while we chat here. And it is so beautiful outside in Baltimore. It's still cold, but the sun is out today and it's
Jealous.
kind of jackety. I didn't have my mittens on, so I highly recommend anybody on the East Coast try to get outside today. It's actually nice out.
I am in Chatham, New Jersey, and I'm looking out the window right now, and I don't have that same sunshine. It's a bit overcast. It is a little warmer out today, though, which is
It
great.
is.
I see some of the snow that we got is melting, which I'm super excited about, which means, no more shoveling, no more slipping on ice, which is good.
Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope. And it would be great to start with a little bit of your background. When we met a couple of days ago, I really enjoyed hearing about your background because we share some commonalities, which is always really fun. But it would be great to hear about a little bit about your background and kind of how you arrived in the position you are today at Stanley Black & Decker.
Yeah, you got it. So I am a Midwestern girl at heart. I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Um, Headed to art school here in Baltimore City many years ago at this point. I'm a painting school dropout. So had a love for painting, but figured out I couldn't do it as a career. Too sensitive. And I landed a graphic design degree at MICA. And I was the first to graduate with an interactive media minor. And at the time, that was like soldering circuit boards together and making plants animate. So trying to get a job doing that was interesting. But I spent the first 10 years of my career on the digital advertising agency side of things in the creative and strategy group. And then about 7 years ago, I sold out, best thing I ever did, and took a position at Stanley Black & Decker, managing digital folks and creative folks. And over the course of my career at SBD, I have built 3 incredible organizations, brought in lots of internal capability here, and been a part of absolutely amazing cultural transformation that is still happening. So I'm a part of some fabulous ERG groups, Pride and Allies group, and a women's network group that I really love. And I spent some time over COVID deciding what I want to be when I grow up. So I decided to go back to school. I'm currently working on my MBA. I'm one of the oldest kids in the class, which is fun. And I declared myself. So my ultimate goal is to become a CMO of a Fortune 500. And so I swung out of the creative group last year and took on a brand role running the PorterCable brand business. And I'd love to talk about our portfolio a little bit. But we did a major brand transformation this past year, saw incredible results. And gosh, I really love managing brand strategy and the portfolio. So I love what I'm doing, and I'm pumped to be here to talk about creative transformation.
Yeah, thank you. It's obvious that you love what you're doing. It comes through, which is really cool to see. And yeah, we share some synergies where I'm from Kentucky, right? So if you ask my wife, that's the Midwest, because we are right outside of Cincinnati where I was born. So it's essentially the Midwest. So I feel like right. Also went to art school. I had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up, but I still, a line that we shared a couple of days ago, I still feel like that some days. And went to art school. I was an art school dropout as well. I think super sensitive, couldn't take the harsh couldn't take the harsh critiques at all.
Yep.
Put yourself out there is kind of scary. And then I found my way into construction after going to Pace University down by the Brooklyn Bridge in Manhattan.
I love.
Amazing school. And then I found myself in construction. So long story short, I'm super excited to meet with you today because it's a brand that I hold near and dear to my heart. This is like a full circle conversation where I had a ton of hand tools and chop saws and just everything you could think of from your portfolio of brands. But what makes it really exciting is then I get into the digital advertising world And I'm super passionate about creative as well. So this is kind of like my two worlds coming together in this conversation. And I'd like to think I was a bit of an expert on Stanley Black & Decker, but
Yep.
once I started doing a little bit more research into the brand, I realized there's just so much I didn't know
Yep.
that you all do. So I think to your point, it would be great to talk a little bit about the portfolio of brands that you
Yeah.
have over there in that family. It's really impressive.
Well, first of all, I feel like we're kindred spirits in the fact that we're art kids who love power tools. Like that's
Yes.
an amazing thing. Um, so I had no idea how big the Stanley Black & Decker portfolio was either. We are actually a global business that has multiple business units inside of it. The biggest business unit is the one that I'm a part of, and it's called Global Tools and Storage. So inside that business, we have about 12 brands. Some are international, some are national, but the most recognizable here in the US are DeWalt, Stanley, Craftsman is a big one. Irwin and Lennox are accessory brands for us. We've got PorterCable. We manage a business that's really cool called Mac Tools. You'll see those trucks driving around with mechanics tools available. And then we've got some industrial storage businesses. So we make storage units for healthcare businesses as well as sort of kind of government businesses. So you can think like huge filing cabinets that like rotate and spin, and that business is very, very B2B. And then we have an awesome industrial tool brand called Proto. We make really fancy wrenches for aerospace, which is like pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys go deep, which is awesome and a lot of fun for me to discover. And I think, and I've a lot more questions we're going to get into, but one thing that I wanted to say at the top of our time together is for anyone that's out there watching right now, please ask questions. I have plenty of questions.
Yes.
And I could talk all day about this stuff, but I really would love to see some come through from anybody that's out there watching right now. So I think a good segue from that is that you recently revitalized your heritage tool brand, PorterCable. I'm a huge fan. Awesome compressors, awesome nail guns.
Yes.
First ones that I bought when I got into the construction industry, and they're indestructible. So this is not a plug. I'm not getting anything for free. Just a huge fan.
I might send you something now.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I can keep going. But I would love to hear a little bit about, what that undertaking was. I know that brand was started in, was it 1906?
Yes.
If I'm correct. So long time ago. It's a heritage tool brand, under the family over at SBD. So what was that like working on that project?
Well, I was really excited to take on the project because I think very, very rarely in your career do you get an opportunity to reposition a brand that has so much love and admiration, and you don't want to mess that up. Right. And for us, the opportunity really came forward when we partnered with a very well-known national retail chain and one of my favorite stores called the Tractor Supply Company. And if anybody's paying attention to Tractor, they are growing like gangbusters. And we partnered with them to develop a plan to launch new cordless power tools exclusively at Tractor there first. So this year, consumers will see new products, which I can't talk about yet, but new products in the PorterCable lineup that are cordless and really focused on the types of users who shop at Tractor. So I'll get into some of that. But what that did for us is it gave us an opportunity to think differently about how we talk about this brand and how we position it in our giant portfolio, and then in the grand scheme of things against competitors. And what really stood out to us first and most importantly were the types of people that we wanted to make sure knew about us. So historically, PorterCable's been a professional brand, really suitable for the residential construction pro, small businesses, folks with a couple team members, jacks of all trades, that kind of thing. And we knew through our market research that those kinds of people who do that work for a living don't necessarily shop at Tractor Supply for their tools that they work with every day. And so through our qualitative research and all the user interviews that we did, we discovered a couple new user groups that we thought would be perfect for our brand and really fit together nicely. So we are definitely more focused on farmers and ranchers, independent gals who have traditional values, but could go out in the afternoon and replace their own carburetor. We've got city to suburban transplants. So folks who have bought their family home for the first time or have moved out of the city into the burbs. Exactly. And want a reliable tool to either fix the old house they bought or maintain the new house they bought. And then we've got our rural Americans. These are diehard red-blooded Americans who want to repair rather than replace what they have, whether out of necessity or, because we care about our environment. So definitely very different than the residential construction professional. Wow. And what this did was it allowed us to really sort of talk to people at a people level. And that's the kind of branding and marketing that I love to do the most. It's figuring out what people want and, not sugarcoating it and just giving it to them as they see fit. So through our work, we transformed our tagline from PorterCable, quality tools since 1906, to PorterCable, tools to live by. And that has resonated so well with our users on social media, the folks that we talk to in our user interviews, and folks who are now shopping PorterCable at Tractor.
That's great. Thanks. We did have one question come in that's kind of tangential to like what you were just talking about. You mentioned environment. So we can take this one now, or if we can table it till later, kind of leave it up to you.
Let me see here.
And if I can read it, but if you want to read it.
How does purpose play a role in your marketing efforts? Sustainability. Oh gosh, that is such a good question. So we have an entire CSR arm at Stanley Black & Decker, and that's at a corporate level. And then also it drips into the business units and the brands. So every brand stands for something. And, PorterCable and the Tractor Supply actually found an incredible opportunity to sponsor Farm Aid, which is a live concert. It's been virtual the last couple of years. It was able to be live and virtual this past year. And their values really aligned with our values and Tractor's values. And that's really to support local, small, family-owned farms here in the U.S. To satiate our country. And, for us, practicality is so critical, like at the core of our products. And so we just felt like that was a really good fit. And Farm Aid does a ton of amazing work through their nonprofit to make resources available to farmers. So if you go on to StanleyBlackandDecker.com, you can actually search some of the work that we do, but every brand stands for something. And we work very hard to give back to the community. I think one of the beautiful things about our business too is if I, as an employee, care about something, there are opportunities for me to make connections at a level so that I can get product donated to a nonprofit that I believe in that would benefit from our tools. So I'll give you an example, which I love. So my wife and I spend our summers on a tiny island in Maine called Islesford. It's also referred to as Little Cranberry Island. It's a piece of heaven on earth. And in the winter time, 65 people live on this island. There's no grocery store. It's a very small community that has a large summer community. And they have a nonprofit on the island called Boatworks. And Boatworks is committed to teaching people the art of handmade boat building. They have kids programs in the summer. It's incredible. And they were working last summer to build out their tools. And they didn't have the means to do it. And I was able to talk to our CSR team, and their goals aligned with our goals. And we were able to raise enough interest to donate $10,000 in product to Boatworks. So, the giving opportunity is everywhere. You just kind of have to know where to look and who to talk to. So it's one of the reasons I love working here, is because if I can dream it and I can figure out how to make it happen, SBD is very supportive in that way.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I definitely want to check that out too. I'm not going to, I won't bring too many people, but I don't want to ruin your slice.
You can't unless you have your own boat.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds awesome. I'm definitely want to check it out. Thank you. So changing gears slightly, today's all about creative transformation.
Yes.
And I paraphrased something that you said the other day, and I hope I got it right. So I'm going to paraphrase just a quick quote, and then there's a question behind it. So you said the internet is hungry for content. We all need to be smarter about how you make it and who you make it for, which is just such a great statement, especially in today's environment. So being about creative transformation today, over the last couple of years, so many brands have had to transform go-to-market strategy, which impacts the creative content greatly. So how has SBD been able to capitalize on this opportunity to personalize content at scale and kind of cut through all the noise that's out there?
That is such a loaded question. I mean, do you have 3 hours, basically?
I do. We can keep going. People can hang up and just keep talking.
So I love what the last presenter said at the very end about creativity not being limited to artists. And I think, in this volatile environment, we have to think creatively about sometimes how to do more with less. And I think personalization and automation can get us there if we do it right. And I think a lot of it comes down to really smart planning up front. And because everybody's running so hard and fast, we don't give ourselves enough time often to think through a plan. And so when I was on the creative side managing digital creative for the Stanley Black & Decker portfolio a couple of years ago, I would get requests all the time of, hey, I have a new product launching. I need a 60-second video. Okay, where's it going to live? I don't know. I just need the video. I need to check the box. And so I think one of the amazing transformations we've had is thinking through not only the creative brief, which is a critical element to building quality creative, because you have to know what you want and what the user wants and what the goal is and how you're going to meet it. But also putting together a content outline and a content strategy that very clearly helps all the key stakeholders understand what, where, when, and why. So if we're going to create a video that's going to cost X thousands of dollars to produce, let's make sure that it has a place to live and that people are actually going to watch it. And not only that, but it's going to convert in some way. So I think, what we started talking about the other day was you can't just create an element, an asset, and then hope that it's going to resonate on the 90 platforms that exist in the digital landscape. You can't create a video that you are just going to post on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Twitter. That does not work. And it's perceived by consumers as lazy, especially for big businesses. So we have to get smart about what the big idea is, and then how we talk about it, not only in the different channels online, but to the different users in the different channels online, because a farmer is going to want different things than a new homeowner in the suburbs.
Yeah, no, that's great. Thanks. Thanks. I know that was a loaded question, and we could talk very long about that. One of the things you also talked about is it can take a long time to produce things, right? From like the creative brief, like all the way through delivery. And in today's world, attention spans are shorter than ever. I think especially like I know mine's gotten shorter from being at home, and you're just consuming so much content on a daily basis from all these different platforms, right? And it's like you're moving from one to the next really quickly. So, acting with recency is something that we hear a lot of brands, saying today and wanting to do, whether or not they're doing it. It's something that they're kind of striving to get to, and being able to pivot really quickly and get messaging out the door that is super relevant. Have you guys also been experimenting with that, or is that on the roadmap, or are you doing it already?
It's 100% part of the journey we are on currently. I think there's a perception that everything that our creative teams produce needs to be award-winning, polished, Cannes Film Festival ready,
Respect it. Yeah.
And as much as I love producing that kind of creative, and if I get a chance, I'd love to show you and the group our PorterCable brand manifesto video.
Yes.
So I have that teed up. That's my can. But what we're seeing in the data is that users aren't as interested as they are in user-generated content and authentic content from influencers.
No.
And I think that is a loaded topic, because if your influencer strategy is off, or your influencer portfolio is not right for the users, you're going to create content that's not going to resonate anyway. So again, it goes back to that thought leadership on what we're trying to do and how all the pieces align to it. I know, so we've got a couple brands that are playing in the TikTok space. Like everybody, everybody's trying to get on that train. And what I've realized through trial and error over the last year is that you got to have a content engine. There's got to be something, whether it's an agile agency that you are in lockstep with, which happens to be the case for me, which I can tell you a little bit more about, or you have an extremely malleable creative team that's willing to just like get in and film something, over the course of, an afternoon, the day, something viral goes out. Because like you said, 3 hours later, it's not relevant anymore.
Yep.
And when you have big brands showing up the week after, you sort of look like mom and dad trying to be hip and cool.
I was thinking the same thing. It's like, where were you guys a week ago? Like, get in on this.
Right.
I totally get it.
So I work with an amazing local agency here in Baltimore called MGH. I actually used to work there. Sorry, I left, but also I love working with you guys. And they are fabulous at creating authentic moments through video content. They're also incredible at just really digging in and understanding our product and how it works, because it's, power tools are or can be a little bit overwhelming for folks that haven't used them before. And so our agency is great at making things not intimidating and super approachable. And that content does really well. And it's not super fancy, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be real life.
Yeah. When we were talking about this the other day, and I would love for you to talk more about social and UGC and TikTok, because we talked a little bit about that the other day, but I'd love to hear more of your thoughts on that. I think user-generated content really does have its great applications. I think now being a consumer and I'm buying power tools again for the first time in many, many years, I think UGC content on social really speaks to me. Like, this is a real world person out there using the power tools. It's not scripted. It's not shiny. It's just real. And I want to engage in that. That's where I'm like, okay, I need to get that because I can apply that to my life and what I need to do. So I think it's a really interesting strategy. So I know that you have the video for PorterCable. I'll leave it. Do you want to show that now, or do you want to?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I want to see it.
Let's see. Let me share. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Let me just make sure. Sound. It's not going to be good without the sound. Okay, here we go.
For all those who took the dirt road less traveled, who built their life out of lumber, nails, and steel, who rely on no one but themselves, their families, and their neighbors. We are PorterCable. Born more than a century ago and raised with the same values that you hold dear today. Our tools were designed for your hands. Hands that knock down walls and put up fences. Hands that fix what's broken and build what's necessary. We're here to help you get things done. Your faithful sidekick, always up for a challenge, and always ready with the right tool at the right time. Because we understand the life you lead, and we make the tools to make it possible. Tools for a life built better. Tools to live by.
Wow.
Numbers tell amazing stories.
If you have the skills to be able to pull out what that story is, it's like a superpower. You need a
You're trying to sneak in a end roll.
I literally cannot find the video now. Hold on a second. Okay, all good. Those darn YouTube ads.
Yeah, how rude of them to put an ad in. It's crazy. That video is awesome. It's awesome. Very, very well done. I think the new slogan or tagline is phenomenal. It definitely speaks to me as a recent homeowner too. So it's just, what was that process like? I know we talked a little bit about it before, but I mean, the creative process of even, I don't know, starting with conception of like, we want to do this really cool, like 1.5 or 1:10 video and pack all this great stuff into it. Like, how do you even begin to kind of scope that out?
Yeah, it absolutely took a lot of planning. And I think for us, the ultimate goal was to show the range of product because we have this amazing cordless line of tools with an interchangeable battery. And that's awesome for farmers and ranchers and homeowners who don't want to deal with cords or literally can't get electricity when, you know, you're a farmer and you're out fixing a pig fence and you need, you know, X, Y, and Z. So first we started with, okay, what products do we want to showcase? And then what kind of people do we want to show? And you know, at Stanley Black & Decker, it's really important to our core values that we show a variety of life's people. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is a critical part of our culture, but also how we go to market. And our tools are for everyone. So we wanted to make sure that that came out fully. We had such great talent, and we had a mix of people who were just, you know, beautiful actors. And then we also had real life contractors who were using our products. And for us, it was about pulling at the heartstrings a little bit and helping people understand the why behind the product. because our goal is to help you lead the life you want. And if we can be a part of that solution, heck yes.
Yeah.
So that was incredible. We had an amazing team from MGH who was helping us. Dave Wassels, there's executive creative director, and our account directors, Christy Stewart. They were exceptional to work with, but also we had a great product management team who was able to be on set and say, here's where we need PPE, ear protection, here's where we need gloves, et cetera, et cetera. And we created an entire document that outlined what to use for what tool to stay safe. And going back to that UGC comment that you made earlier, one of our biggest challenges relaunching this brand was leveraging user-generated content that actually was able to be legally approved by our internal legal team.
That's a great point. Yeah.
So we got scrappy and we got smart about how we problem solve UGC. We have an incredible legal team. I love them. They are such a critical part of our business, but also it's hard to get content pushed through because people don't use products the way they should.
Yeah, guilty. I think everyone's guilty of doing that from time to time, inside the confines of their own home, their own world, but
yeah,
maybe not appropriate to put that out. I wouldn't want the way I've used some tools in the past to be put out as a recommendation of how they should be used.
Right. So as marketers, what we did was we said, okay, people are creating amazing content. We can't use 70% of it right now because they don't have ear protection or they don't have gloves on or they aren't protecting their eyes. And those things are all very important.
Yes.
And so what we did was we put this PPE guide together and we put care packages together that had ear protection, eye protection, and gloves. And when we saw somebody on social who was using our products and we love the content, but we couldn't use it, we DM'd them and said, hey, we love your stuff. Legally, we can't use it. We really want to. If we send you a PPE pack, would you consider creating some content for us? And those folks became our advocates. So these people are folks who love our products, don't necessarily have the influencer reach, but we didn't care because we knew that we were going to get great authentic content. And that's how we started building our base. And then we built from there to work with micro influencers that were local and then influencers that had major reach for our big launch moments, our press release moment with Tractor Supply. And that was incredible. We had 38 micro and major influencers who supported our co-branded launch event in September. And the content was like unbelievably good.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. We had another question come through.
Oh, okay. See, I'm curious with this recent repositioning initiative, how do you split responsibilities between you and your agency partners? What and when did you work collaboratively? Great question. That was an interesting project because not only were we working with our agency, we were also partnering with the retailer's marketing team internally and their PR agency. So a ton of moving parts. Literally, one of the best things we did was develop a Gantt chart of all of the tactics that we were planning and a RACI to identify who was responsible for what and when. That stuff it is a real pain in the butt, but boy, does it go a long way when you're knee deep in the work and you're like, wait a minute, you can go back to those documents and just say, okay, we're on the same page. So, the beautiful thing about our partnership with our agency is there is hardcore strategic brain power on both sides. So we really did work as a collective team to develop not only the brand strategy and the brand world and the positioning, but also how we were going to amplify that. And we really did focus on the digital space. We created surprise and delight packages that we sent to influencers, that we sent to tool reviewers, just to talk about the partnership and the amazing expansion that we have planned for our cordless line. But other than that, we didn't play in traditional spaces at all. And it's so important to have an agency with digital expertise.
Great question. Great answer.
Yeah.
So social is everywhere. Everywhere. So just like proliferation of platforms, there's new ones popping up all the time and stuff to keep track. Where have you guys found a lot of success, and where are you planning on going next in social?
Yeah, I think a bunch of people have talked about this today, but creatively, I think testing and learning is critical. I have been in positions in my career where I've A/B tested the shit out of stuff. And then as a creative, I never hear what the results are. So I'm like, how did we optimize? And so for me, when we put a launch plan together, we identified a couple key tactics socially that we were going to try and see how it went. So, I think failure can be success as long as you know how to pivot quickly when it's not working. And for us, when we relaunched the brand, we played in 5 social channels, specifically Facebook, Instagram, Twitter,
Nice,
Pinterest, and TikTok. Nice. And then we put together a YouTube strategy with media and all that good stuff. And for us, it was really important to have a clear social strategy for each tactic. So the user types on Facebook were different than the user types on Instagram. The demographics were different. The psychographics were different. Age ranges varied. And that also helped us adjust what kind of content we produced. So, this is where I think if you don't have a plan, you can have an agency or your creative team or, your best friend create a bunch of stuff that never lands anywhere. And then it's just wasted time for everybody. So on Facebook, we really focus on feature and benefit driven information to get awareness out about our cordless line. So why is this line great? What is it going to do for you? Less about like the bells and whistles and more about the time you're going to save or the runtime you're going to get on one battery. On Instagram, it was really influencer heavy, UGC heavy, much more authentic, way less polished, way less like 3D animation. We tried to stay away from that because it wasn't resonating with users on Instagram, and that audience for us is younger. TikTok, rough and tumble video content all day long. And, we tried a bunch of stuff. We saw some results, but our TikTok following is still really small. And we're still really rebuilding this brand. So we're going to continue to create content in that space. But I think as a giant corporation, we have some opportunity to create agility when it comes to video content creation specifically. How do we get out of our own way? How do we become more agile? How do we come up with an idea and produce it in the same day? That takes a minute for a giant ship to be steered in a different direction. And then Pinterest was all about like home projects. So really geared toward the new homeowner. And we didn't see great results on Pinterest. There wasn't a lot of interactivity. And so that is going to be a platform that we sunset until we come up with a better plan. In my experience, Twitter is a place where you get breaking news and a lot of opinions. I don't have a lot of breaking news about my power tool brand. And what I see from our competitors is a lot of regurgitation of content from other platforms on Twitter. And so we took a different approach and we said, okay, what's going to resonate with our users and really build our brand position. And so we started this daily, it's like a daily affirmation post of a sunrise in a different part of the country. And what we really focused on was, you know, being that faithful sidekick and the brand that's going to wake up with you and go to work with the sun. And so little more creative, little more editorial. We're still waiting to see how it turns out. But we thought, you know, this is an opportunity to be disruptive and try something different that's more aligned to the brand and less salesy, because that feels more authentic.